Welcome to another terrific Tips for Business podcast. I, of course, am Terry Watkins, your host. Why? Because you can't spell terrific without Terry. But those of you who've been listening to this show for the last year and a half, almost 2 years, I can't even believe it, already knew that, but that's okay. I'm so excited to have you here with us today. I have a new friend who I've met recently through a women's empowerment group that I'm part of, and I'm super thankful to be there. And her name is Paola Rodriguez. And for those of you that don't know Paola, I want to introduce you to her because she is a pretty amazing, incredible woman, and you will see why I have her on the show here in just a minute. So she is an entrepreneur, a world traveler, a foodie, a wife, and a mom. How many of us can relate? Yeah, we all love food. And so many people love to travel too. Travel has been hard the last few years, but after 10 plus years in corporate America, Paola founded the Unique World Crafts.com. And it is a bridge between artisans around the world and women who express their beauty in very unique ways. This is so cool, right? She relates to color and statement pieces in a way that's easy to remember that life is really about those little details, the stories, the relationships. And her vision has been to empower those artisans to thrive in their communities and to inspire women around the world to love themselves and own the power of their unique ability and beauty. She currently mentors women to create a lifestyle where self-care is an everyday practice, and self-love is the cornerstone of that practice. She truly believes that without self-love, there really is nothing. And with self-love, anything is possible. And I'm in complete agreement. She empowers women to show up in their essence, embrace who they are, take up their space, own their voice, and find themselves again to lead their lives with joy and freedom. Paola believes that the world is transformed by learning to love ourselves, so she empowers women to take the lead, love, and make an impact to leave a legacy. Please join me in welcoming Miss Paola to the show. Thanks for being here this morning.
Thank you so much, Terry. It is super exciting to be here. And as you're reading that, my heart is bursting because I am like, oh my God, I can't even believe, like a couple years back, this was a dream. This was right, like on paper, on a journal. And right now being here with you, I am very grateful for this moment, very grateful for this space. And yes, it's really exciting, really, really exciting. I am very honored to be here. Thank you so much.
That is so cool. I love that you mentioned that because, I've talked with a lot of people, and one of the things that I've come to learn over the last year from the people that I've had on the show and people that I have in my life is the power of the written word really is an incredible thing. So if you are somebody who's in a situation, first thing is to remember it is a temporary situation. We all have the power to change that situation. The second thing to do is write down what you want, not what you don't want, what you want to have happen, because it has the power to come to reality when you write that down. So thank you for talking about that right out the gate about how this was a dream and now here you are living this reality.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So I have always loved to write things. I remember back when I was in corporate America, perhaps I would have like a little break or a coffee break or something, and I would just write down things, like random things, but things that would come to me, like what I would love to do or where I would love to go, like travel, or even like designing my business already, even if I didn't know what it was going to look like, but like the logo or the colors or names, just throwing out ideas, but not to the air, but to paper. And so that collection of things over the years, now I am going back to that and saying, oh, I can do this. I can pull this together. I can use all of this because that's what tells what my essence is and what my dream was, and now coming to reality. And it is so true. Anything you say out loud make sure it's something you want and make sure it's something you want to manifest, because it's a very powerful declaration. And so yes, written and saying it out loud. Totally agree.
Amazing, amazing. So, as a woman, as a mom, as a world traveler, as a foodie, what was one of the challenges that you had to face in starting this adventure? Because this is no small feat to bring the artisans of the world to everyday life for other people. So, what was one of the biggest challenges that you had to face during that time when you were taking your vision from this plan on paper to reality?
So the biggest challenge was believing that, yes, I can create this right now, and like actually taking the leap to go and say I am no longer going to work here. So I remember speaking to the CEO of the bank and saying, I don't want to be here. I just, I'm quitting. And without even knowing what I was going to do, without even knowing how I was going to start all of this, because I have so many things that I love. So I had the traveling side of things, the statement pieces, and wearing things that are stylish. And my challenge was, how do I bring all of this together and create a business out of it? How do I bring everything that I love and that I enjoy doing and making it a business? So taking the leap to quit my job, I had my baby was little at the time. So it was a lot of moving pieces. So the challenge was, how do I bring all this together, and how do I trust myself? How do I trust that this is going to happen? And how do I believe that if I have this on my heart, is because I have been equipped with everything to make it happen, even if I don't know how, and even if I don't know all the steps. It was more about taking that very first step boldly and writing that letter and saying, I am out of here. I think that was the biggest challenge.
Yeah, trusting yourself. I love that you mentioned that. It is something that I think entrepreneurs, women in business in particular, but entrepreneurs in general, all have this self-doubt, this what do they call it? Imposter syndrome, this question of trust in themselves about their abilities. And it seems like what happens is the more you learn about a specific industry, the more untrust you have in yourself, because you realize you really don't know anything. So like you
all
can
you know is that you don't know anything. Yeah.
right. The more you learn, the more you don't know shit. And you're like, okay, now what do I do with this? Right. So having to really stay focused and centered in believing that you have all of the skills, the tools, the abilities to do this, to make this come to fruition, because you wouldn't have been gifted with the vision if you didn't, is really powerful. So what did you do to like tap into that knowing and that trust within yourself?
So I tapped into honoring my dream. So more than knowing that, yes, I have the skills, like I had a little bit of that, and it came from the outside. It came from my mom, even from my former boss, who is the biggest cheerleader ever, and from my husband, like, you can do this. But deep inside, like we don't truly believe it. So it's like we gotta listen to the ones who believe in us until we believe in ourselves. And so for me, it was more about, okay, let me go back to that journal when I was 9 years old. And I wrote down a list of what I wanted to be. Like, yeah, when I grow up, this is what I want to create. This is what I want to be. This is who I want to become. So honoring that child, going back, connecting to that inner child and saying, you know what, we've got this. We've got this. We're going to create it. We're going to make it happen. So it was more about honoring myself, honoring my word, honoring my dreams, because I knew I was feeling that I was falling apart. I was living, but I was dead at the same time, because I was not living the life that I wanted. I was not doing what I really wanted to do. And the more time I spent in that job, it was great. I mean, I checked all the boxes. It was amazing, but it was not my thing. It was not my thing. So the more time I was spending there, the worse I felt. So for me, it was more about, okay, I got to honor my word. honor myself, honor my dreams, and believe in what people are telling me. Yes, you're rocking it. Okay, great. Let me just believe and pretend like it's, it's true. And eventually you realize that all of that is true. So, yeah.
We are all things. We are all things. What I love about this, though, is there's so many people that are listening to this show that are that between entrepreneur, right? They're working a full-time or a part-time job, and they've got this side hustle that they're doing. And it's easy to get burnt out. It's easy to feel tired. It's easy to say, I'm just not going to do it tonight. And then tonight becomes tomorrow and the next day and the next. And before you know it, it's been a month since the last time you touched your passion because you've fallen out of love with it. And so I love that you mentioned that you reconnected with this like childhood dream, this childhood passion and curiosity, because one thing that we know is children have this like unbelievable amount of energy.
Yeah.
And if we can tap into our childlike energy source, we won't ever feel burnt out because it's just fun and play and exploration and curiosity. And those things feed us to keep us moving forward. So that was beautiful that you tapped into that. So what did you do? Was there a process? Was there a habit that you had to do in order to start tapping into that childlike brain and energy source?
So I think it was intuition. It was this thing, this nudge. I felt inclined to coloring books. I felt inclined to going back to my childhood, the music that I used to listen to, and connecting with friends. And it was like a very intuitive or like magical guidance to that. And I leaned in. I said, okay, let me see why all of this is happening, why all of this is coming to me. So really being in tune with that and following it and being so grounded in this is happening and there's no back doors, there's no going back ever, that I started like creating situations and events, and people would come into place. Like all of like, I'm going to say out of the blue, but we know that it's not out of the blue. It's because we're thinking about it. We're really holding on to that vision. So the helpers became like, they just came to play. People that were exactly the guides to point me in the direction where I got to go. They started coming. I started like attracting that community. And that's the journey that I embarked on. I had been working with a life coach too, so that also supported me in creating community and of women to hold me high and tell them, I'm jumping, ladies, so hold me because I'm doing this. So that's why I also believe that community is super important. So that's what took me, like really following my heart. I know it sounds, we hear this a lot, but it's truly listening to your heart and saying, well, so, okay, so if I died tomorrow, I'm going to die with a whole bunch of regrets. So why if I try? What would it look like for me to try and see and create something amazing? And if I fail, at least I say, well, I tried and I failed, but not, I never tried, because that's really, really sad. And so I know it's really scary because after you quit, you're like, okay, so the next paycheck, I have 2 kids. And then the interesting part is that I enrolled my husband into doing the same thing. And so he quit his job as well. We were both like, okay, how are we going to figure this out? We have this humongous vision, all the drive and all the passion. So now let's come to play. And you mentioned play and you mentioned having fun. And that's super important because otherwise you are burned out. Otherwise you get bored. Otherwise you lose your why. And when you lose your why, that's what happens. Why am I doing this anyway? Let me just leave it for tomorrow. Let me just leave it for next week. Let me just procrastinate. Now there's many pieces to it too, of like, am I really worthy of creating what I'm creating? So as you break through all of that, the very basic thing that I would say is really being grounded to your why, so that it pulls you forward to going overnight working or going, even if you're that tired, you're so excited that you still want to work on your project.
I love that you mentioned being grounded to your why. And that is so cool that you both kind of took that leap and you were each other's support system in
Mhm.
taking this leap of faith. And you're right. It's really sad when you see somebody, like you see people older than you who are seeming like they're just kind of waiting. They're just kind of waiting to die because they don't really have that passion, that fire anymore. They've forgotten how to dream. They don't have a dream anymore. And so they've really forgotten how to live. We have to remember that dreaming is part of living. We always have to have something else that we're striving for. And so tapping into your why is definitely a great way to do that. Do you have a tip for our audience about how they might be able to start finding their own why?
Yes. So what worked for me was really tapping into what's important. Why am I doing what I'm doing? Why do I wake up every day? Sometimes the very first thing we think about is my kids, my children, or my family, or but really going deep, deep, deep. Like, why is it that you're still alive? So if you're still breathing, and this I'm going to say it, if you're still breathing, if you're listening to this, if your heart is still beating, is because you still have something to create. And it is your responsibility to listen to that and to believe that, yes, you have a combination of talents and gifts that nobody else has. And so go and do it. Just go and do it. So grounding into your why is perhaps what you want. You were mentioning a list of what we want. So if you want to travel, if you want a better house, if you want to support charities, if you want to build a family pet rescue or animal rescue place or something, whatever it is that really moves you, it can even move you to tears, something that stirs up your heart. That's exactly where you find that gold. That's exactly where you find the hints of, okay, this is important. So asking yourself that question, why is that important? And why is that important? Having a bigger house, and why is that important? Having a better car, why is that important? Wearing better clothes, why is that important? Eating organic versus the cheapest version of food you find, why is that important? So that question always leads you to, okay, I want to have better health because I want to be available for my kids, because I want to be available for the community so that I can do community service, you name it. So going down that path of asking yourself that question over and over again, and why am I doing this? Why is this important? Why am I creating this business? Why is it that I'm creating this product to serve other people? What am I creating in their life? What difference am I making in the world with this? And that makes it bigger than you, and it pulls you forward, and there's no room for fear to eat you alive.
So true. I love that you really elaborated on that asking yourself, why is that important repeatedly? It gets us out of our head. It moves us into our heart. And that's really where that passion lives. That's really where that childlike curiosity lives. That's where play lives. It lives inside of our heart, not inside of our head. When we get up into our head, we start overthinking things. We start creating problems where there are none. We start looking for solutions to problems we've never even had before because we're too busy thinking and not feeling enough. So that's so good that you talked about how you can really tap into that feeling space and anchor into that why. And it does have to be strong enough to move you. If it doesn't move you, your feet aren't getting out of bed in the morning.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So what's your why? Do you mind sharing it with us?
Totally. Yeah. So my why, of course, the very first thing is that legacy for my children, the legacy for their children, and for every household, for every home. So I do believe that there can be world peace if we start at home. And the main pillar of that home is the woman. So that's why I focus on women. And everything revolves around how much that woman loves herself and how she teaches her children and everybody around her to love himself or love herself. And so my why is really that peace that we so want to see in this world, that love that we want to experience in this world. And me knowing that I have that medicine because I know I have it, me knowing that I have that talent, that gift, that ability, really is my responsibility to spread it, really is my responsibility to empower women to take a look at what's inside of them and believing in themselves, because it has been my own journey. It has been my own experience. And creating wealth in a way that I can have, not only for me, not only to live a very luxurious and comfortable life, and for my children too, but so that I can give back, so that I can also like recycle and say, okay, you have a dream, you have something that's stirring up your heart and you don't have the funds to start that. Let me support you with that. In mentoring, and, you know, to truly create a big impact in the world, to truly move and shake things around, we need money, we need wealth. So to me, is that's what moves me really. It might sound quite like materialistic to say money moves me, because money is not really the thing, but creating the wealth and the capacity to support causes, to support movements and empowerment for bigger growth and the stability of communities. And that's what I have been doing through Unique World Crafts, which is my other business, for artisans to believe in their vision and create their vision through the work that they already know how to do. So seeing those families thrive in what they love to do, in their skill, they don't have to go and look for another job that they hate, but really something that they can pass down to generations, enjoy what they're doing, live their vision. That's my why. That's what moves me to create more things and spread the word and like kind of like gently shake people around.
I love it. And this is why you're here and why we connect so well, because we both really have this huge why of really focusing in on the rising tide. It floats all boats. So if I can rise my tide, then I can rise your tide, and we together can rise everybody else's tide and float all of the boats, and we can all live the life that we all dream of. It's possible. The world is abundant. There is more than enough of everything for everybody. We just need to get out of our own way and find the other people who are like us, who are on a similar mission, but are doing it in different ways, so that we can together really work together to really create that space in that world. Because I want to live in that world. I want to live in a world where we support each other and we teach each other peace and love and respect, and we do it through starting at home. You're right. It starts at home. It doesn't start with a government. It doesn't start with a leader. It starts in the house. You teach those values in the house, and then you share those values through your community by being of the community. And so that's really amazing. Thank you. This is a great time for me to ask you, what's the best way for our audience to get in touch with you? Because you are amazing, and this conversation is just incredible so far. So what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Thank you. Yes. So the best way is, well, Instagram, The Language of Beauty. And on Facebook, I have a community of women that's called The Language of Beauty Tribe. It's a free community. You can join there. I go live every day at 2 p.m. Eastern time. And I also do different like workshops and free hot seat coaching and all of this. And it's a really, really powerful platform space to come in and share openly and vulnerably and grow as women, because I believe in that, you know, coming together, supporting one another and creating amazing things in the world. Your vision is important. My vision is important. Let's bring it together. So the best way would be, yes, Instagram, The Language of Beauty, and Facebook, The Language of Beauty Tribe.
Awesome. Thank you so much. For those of you that are listening, I, of course, am Terry Watkins, your host of the Terrific Tips podcast. I'm also the founder of Spin Frogs. I'm your chief idea catcher. And over at Spin Frogs, we are a forensic marketing firm focused in helping and supporting independent business owners to avoid the pitfalls in marketing so they can maximize their return on investment and the impact that they want to have in the world. It's all about your vision, and together we make that vision become a reality. And that's what we do here at Spin Frogs. So if you're a business owner listening to this conversation right now, or you're a inspired, aspiring entrepreneur, you have a side hustle, and maybe you're just feeling a little stuck. You're a little frustrated. Maybe you're a little confused because there's so many different ways to market and grow your business. Reach out to us. My contact information is going to be in the chat description section, along with Paola's amazing group. So make sure you go join her group, get in touch with her, because I think together we're on a mission to really support you in your vision and help that become a reality. This is so great. Thank you, Paola. Okay, so with this incredible vision, with this incredible why that you have, what are some of the daily habits that you have to do in order to keep moving this ball forward for yourself and for others?
Yes. So I have something that is the list of 3 things that I get to do that day. So 3 things that I get to do, not have to do, because it's a choice. 3 things that I get to do, and 3 ways of being that I get to embody that day. So for instance, and one of the 3, it has to do with me, has to do with taking care of myself, whatever that looks like. So 3 things that are very important, non-negotiable. I get to do them. It could be, business or mom related, whatever, 3. And then 3 ways of being. Who do I get to be? Connected, loving, passionate, rigorous, powerful, you name it. So, or vulnerable. So those 3 things that really drive me to completion. And when I cross that one line of something that I did that day, it's really empowering and it keeps the momentum. So many times I, of course, end up doing more than 3 things, but I do commit to those 3. And then I can add on, but not write a list of 25 things and then end up at the end of the day not completing anything and beating myself up because of that. So that, I think, has really supported me into keeping that momentum and keeping the speed.
It's so important. Okay, so I have to share a story because this is so good. So we always have a to-do list. I call it a to-done list because it's stuff that is done already. I just haven't made that happen yet, but it's done already. In some alternative universe, it's already completed. It's just not completed here, and it will be. So I call it my to-done list. But we all have, as business owners, and we've heard this, right? I check one thing off and I've added 5 more. And there's like always something to do. There's always something to do. But what I love about the 3 things, it's simple. Anybody can accomplish 3 things in a day. And like you said, you're going to accomplish more than those 3 things. But when we focus in on just those 3 things, we get to feel empowered. Think about it. You have a list of 25 things. You've crossed off 3 things. You're looking at the list and you're like, man, I added 10 things and I crossed 3 things off. And now I actually have 35 things. And I just feel disenfranchised. I feel crappy because I didn't get as much done. Whereas if I say this to-done list is a beautiful, like ongoing mind exercise, I put it in the top of my drawer. If I hit the end of my 3 things today and I'm like, what else do I need to do? Or what else can I do? What else do I want to do? Maybe I pull out that 25 list and I say, oh, today I can record this video. Okay, let me go record this video. Or today I can, edit this video. Or today I can go to this networking event. Whatever it is that's on your 25 things, now you have something else that you can do. So you're not wasting time. But those 3 things that you've dedicated to doing, that you have this intention of doing, that makes you feel empowered. So when those 3 things get done, do them first thing in the morning. Like eat that elephant first thing in the morning, knock it out as early as possible, because then the rest of your day is nothing but a giant win. You've already won. You won for the day before you even got started. So now you've already won. And that just makes you so much more, your brain has that dopamine hit And so
Yes.
you're so much more focused and excited about the things that you're doing. And I've seen this to be true. Like my husband, he, anytime he has something on his list that he doesn't get done, if it goes too long where he's not getting it done, he starts to question himself and the belief in himself. So we talked about the belief in ourselves earlier, right?
Yeah.
When we have things on our list that we're not checking off, we start to question the belief in ourselves.
Mhm.
So if we have just those three things, now we're checking those things off. Now we believe ourselves. When we tell ourselves we're going to do this because we want to, and it gets done, then we can be like, see, told myself I was going to do it. I knew I could.
Yes, it builds your confidence. It helps you trust yourself and you honor your word. I mean, it's like it's a beautiful package there, honoring your word and you feel fired up. Like you very well mentioned it. Like after you complete those three things, let's say 11 a.m., you're done. You're like, okay, I can do anything in life. I feel empowered. So now I can take a self-care break or something. And your brain, yeah, that's part of taking care of yourself, like really being gentle with, we're not machines, we're human beings. We get tired. And sometimes we see a list of 25, 35 things and we waste time thinking how stuck and how overwhelmed we are instead of seeing solutions. Like, okay, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. This is done, 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 completed. So crossing off and completion energy and setting the intention in the morning is beautiful. It's amazing. And then checking off at night, like, okay, so what did I accomplish? How did it go? What worked? What didn't work? And it sets you up for success the following day.
So good. I love that you mentioned checking in at night, right? So setting the intention in the beginning of the day, knowing these are the three things that I get to do. This is who I get to be. That's fun. That's exciting. Okay. At the end of the day, was I that person? Did I get those things done? Did it turn out the way that I thought it would? Are there specific measurements that you look for in terms of success? Since you mentioned like measuring the success of something, did it work? What do you mean, did it work? What does that mean for you?
Yeah. So for instance, I more than the numbers, for example, okay, let's say you say, okay, I'm going to reach out to 5 people to offer my product. And I only reached out to 2. So that's easy because it's number, it's like tangible. It's like you can count. But if it's something more like I set the intention or I said that one of my ways of being was going to be peaceful or vulnerable or open, and I was grumpy all day and I was rushing things through. So obviously that didn't work. So more than measuring it, it's more about going back to yourself and saying, okay, so what's missing here? What happened here? And not from a place of self beat up, but from a place of, okay, it didn't work. So new moment, and what can work better tomorrow? Because in self-love, that's the work that I do. Take care of yourself, take care of your mind. Don't just go and judge yourself and criticize yourself. Like really manage that self-talk and be more empowering, more of like, okay, yes, it didn't go as it was supposed to, as you set the intention. However, you can still work, do something better tomorrow. So that's really like that check-in grounds you again to with yourself. So self beat up is so easy, especially entrepreneurs. It's so easy. So with self-love, the work that I do with women is really to look at your learning. It's from a place of compassion, from a place of being an entrepreneur is a wild ride. So you're going to have your days that you're a rock star and the next day you're like questioning your existence. So it's that ride of having grace, having compassion, being kind and gentle with yourself, and knowing that you are worth having space to cry or space to talk to a friend, space to speak, to feel, and to embrace that journey as well.
That is so good. So I was going to ask you what self-love means for you, but I think you really kind of summed it up here, where It's not just taking time to meditate or making sure you're getting enough water or enough sleep. Like, yeah, those things are all good habits to have. But at the end of the day, self-care is about, you don't have to earn the break. Take the break. You don't have to earn the chance to talk to your friend. If you want to talk to your friend, go talk to your friend. Like, at the end of the day, self-love is giving yourself the space to do the things that you're being called to do in that moment, and not feeling like you're a machine that has to get these things done before you can. We're not machines. And I think part of that comes into kind of how we're trained as a society, especially here in the Western world, in education systems. We're trained to be a cog in a system. And when we're trained to be a cog in a system, we have one job. And that job, it has to get done by this time, or else we don't have a job anymore, right? That's the system that we're kind of trained in. And I think even as entrepreneurs, part of the challenge that we have is breaking that system. We're not a cog anymore. We are a human. Yeah. We're not a machine. We're a human. And as a human, we have human needs. Sometimes you just need to go outside and get some fresh air. Go for a bike ride in the middle of the day. Go for a walk. It's okay. You don't have to have accomplished a million things before you can. And in fact, one of the things that I've learned is, if you take the break, you're actually going to be more productive than if you sat at the computer all day.
For sure. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And yes, self-care. I love the whole bubble bath and mani and pedi and all of that. Facials, I'm all for that. Love it. However, I do believe that self-care has it. You got to go deeper. Because even if you're in the most luxurious, delicious bubble bath, and you're telling yourself that you're not enough, that you're a loser, that you're a failure, that blah, 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 it doesn't make sense. So it works more that self-care where I'm having a conversation with you. What's happening there? How are you treating me? How am I allowing you to treat me? How am I standing for myself in that moment? So self-care is an everyday thing. It's an every minute thing. Is when you choose yourself first, when you choose to love yourself, when you choose to stay out of a situation that you know it's not healthy for you, when you choose to stand for yourself in every single moment at work, with a client, with a vendor, with whatever it is, or at work if you have a job. So it's really taking care of you. And yes, taking the break, standing up, having your water, your tea, having a dance party. I love having dance parties in the middle of the day. And that's the beauty of being an entrepreneur. Like at the beginning, when we say, I want to be an entrepreneur because I want freedom and I want financial freedom and I want time freedom and flexibility. And when we're in it, it's like we forget. And we are such hard bosses on ourselves. So why don't we give ourselves that break? Why don't we give ourselves the opportunity to, take Fridays off or have a morning off or whatever, or even start with self-care in the morning and then work? Because yes, that is 100% true. You are more productive when your cup is full. So I do believe in keeping your cup full, not only filling it and then running empty and until you're burned out and you're to the point of exhaustion, but really keeping it full. And the only way you can keep it full is like pouring a little bit every time. If it goes down, pour again and again. So it's always full, and you give the best of you to those around you. And at the end of the day, your business, you are your business. It's like you are the soul. So whatever is not working with you or whatever is working with you, it's going to be directly related to your business. So if you want success and you want that to flourish, then you get to nourish yourself so that you can flourish as well.
I love that. Nourish yourself so you can flourish as well. So one of the questions that I've had and that I know other people have had is, how do you alter the language with yourself without putting yourself into a false reality or have like delusions of grandeur? Right. Mm-hmm. So the terminology delusions of grandeur is psychological. This is an actual psychological effect where you've convinced yourself of something that isn't real. And there's the other side of this manifestation positivity coin is this belief in something that hasn't come to fruition yet, so it doesn't exist. So is this a delusion of grandeur, or is this a step forward into manifestation? And how do we identify them so that we're not driving ourselves crazy?
Yeah, totally. It's very easy to go crazy with all these things, especially when we listen to so many things, read so many things, and then you're like, but wait, what? Like, this has been my result. This has been my life. So something that I love to do, I do it myself and I do it with my clients, is go back in history, go back in your life and grab those moments when you were confident, for example, when you achieved something, when you used your voice and it made a difference. So it's like gathering evidence of how powerful you are, how confident you are, how amazing you are, how, like, whatever way of like you want to describe yourself. And then it's like you feed your brain, you feed your heart. You're like, yes, that's who I am. That's who I have been. Now, the thing is that we tend to collect the other evidence, which is when I failed, when I said what I wasn't supposed to, blah, 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 whatever. So really, like, flipping that conversation without going like the extra or going like the other way is really knowing truly who you have been and what the turnout has been in that moment when you show up that way, when you embody that way of being. And so that's what brings you to say, yes, I am powerful because XYZ, because remember that day. Yes, I am amazing because this. Yes, I'm profitable because this is this. Yes, I can enroll clients because I enroll 10 clients or whatever. So, or I grew my business by X amount of money. So having that conversation is really like re-enrolling yourself into also who you want to be, who you want to become. And start thinking more about that person that you want to embody, that person that you want to be. And then with those thoughts, you start seeing that person come to realities, like that manifestation. So it doesn't exist yet in materially, but you have it in your thoughts and your imagination and your vision. So little by little, you start embodying being that person. It's like if you want to be the boss, you start dressing up like the boss, or you start wearing makeup, like you start embodying that woman that you want to be. And then it's the same thing with everything in life. It's embodying that new version of you, that best version of you, because sometimes it's there. It's just hidden. It's just hidden even in your clothes. Like you hide because you don't want to be too much. You hide because you don't want to outshine. And that comes from childhood as well. So without going to the other side of believing that you're God or anything like that, it's really gathering the evidence and knowing that you are special no matter what, and gathering the evidence of what you have accomplished, what you have done, and how people see you and how valuable and worthy you are in the world.
That is so good. I think that's the best I have ever heard of somebody explaining how manifestation really can work. So I want to recap that. It is not a matter of just saying, I am. You can create a series of 25 I am statements and not have them anchored in anything. And then all it is a series of I am statements. And they could be lies, but they could be the truth. And that's really where you can kind of get off kilter between the delusion of grandeur and something that you're truly manifesting and truly trying to become. What it really is tapping into proof. We all have proof of how we're amazing. We all have proof of how we're grounded, or how we're peaceful, or how we're financially wealthy, or how we're healthy. We all have these areas of proof that exist within our life. But you are so right on, Paola. We are amazing at focusing on how we suck.
Yeah, totally.
We're amazing at doing that. The picking up the things that we did wrong is like an automatic response. We do it and we don't even think about it. We have to go out of our way to find the evidence of why we rock.
Oh
And
yeah.
when we do that, now we have this evidence. And now that I am statement about how you are amazing and how you can do anything and you can be anything and you're a millionaire and you do all of this stuff, you have all of this amazing impact. You have evidential proof that you've already done it. So of course you can, because you already have.
Yes.
And you're just tapping back into the person who did that before. That's your best self. And so you're just kind of, success leaves clues. We're just kind of recreating that person over and over and over again until that's the person that we are all the time.
Yes.
And we stop seeing those negatives. That is so beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, that's when they tell you like your higher self or your authentic self, your true self, your child, so it's really that. It's peeling the layers, is not putting things on, but really like going deep, deep, deep inside. Who have I been? What have I done? What have I created? And then as you grow and evolve and with experiences in life, and as you acquire more wisdom, you go to the next level as you grow then. So whatever, if you found 2 clients, now you can find 20 clients. If you grew your business by $500, now you can do 500 million or whatever number you want to put. So it's really replicating the same thing. Like you said, it's replicating at a bigger scale, at a bigger level, at a bigger game as you grow.
So good. So good. All right, Paola, what is the best way for people to get in touch with you again? Because that nugget right there was absolutely amazing. And I'm sure somebody listening is going to be like, okay, hold on. Where do I find this group again? So what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Yeah. So actually, I want to give a gift, which is a self-care guide that I have put together that, what I shared a little bit here. It's what I have gathered of the top things to do to take care of yourself every day. And no, I'm not going to put you on stretches that are going to be like 2 hours per day or anything like that. Those are things that become like your second nature. So you can click on the link that we're going to be sharing. I'm sure you're going to be sharing there. So click on the link, download the guide. And with that, you will be receiving all my content, my coaching, my tips and everything else. And be part of my community, because what I love is to pour on people. And as I'm breaking through, I share immediately all my breakthroughs, because that's how I am generous enough to show you my generosity, I want to say.
Can we say the link out loud for those that are just listening and maybe aren't going to see the text, but hear the text?
Okay. So, it's a pretty long one. So the Language of Beauty Tribe on Facebook. That's the easiest way. So it's a group, the Language of Beauty Tribe.
Okay. So if they find the Language of Beauty Tribe on Facebook, they'll be able to get that free gift link that you were just talking about.
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
And for those of you who are still with us, hey, smash that like button. Go ahead and subscribe so you never miss another conversation. We do try and have these conversations on a weekly basis so that we're always bringing somebody to you that's going to serve you either professionally or personally in your life, so that you can continue to move the needle forward for yourself and for your business and for the people in your lives. Because again, that rising tide floats all boats. That's what Terrific Tips was built for. It started at the outbreak of the pandemic. So not only I could connect with amazing people all over the world, but so that I could provide a platform for you to be able to get information, learn from each other, and grow together as a community, regardless of where in the world you are. So if this is helping you, make sure you make sure you subscribe, maybe tell a friend about it. We're always looking to grow our YouTube channel and share this podcast with more people. And I appreciate you listening and doing that. Thank you so, so much. Paola, I've got one more question for you today.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you could go back in time and give your younger self a piece of advice, what would it be and why?
Don't wait for anything. Don't wait ever. Just go for it. Even if you're scared, even if whatever's coming up, don't let circumstances stop you, and just go for it. Get messy and go for it. So why? Because I have learned it the hard way, throughout the years. the whole getting messy and overthinking and what if I do this and what if I do that. So in that waiting period, in that making things look perfect, we miss opportunities, we waste time, we waste energy, and we kill our confidence. So that would be something that I would tell my younger self, is just whatever's coming up for you, whatever you have on your heart, just go for it and don't wait. Don't wait for anybody to come and resolve it, or anybody to come and say, okay, here it is. You go create it.
Ah, so good. Thank you so much. What a great tip. Don't wait. Go do it. Find a way. At the end of the day, there's always a way. Where there's a will, there is a way. So if this is something that is heavy on you, if this is a calling that you have, if this is a passion that you have, if it's something that wakes you up in the middle of the night, it is definitely something that you need to explore, dig into, ask questions about, and see if it's something that you can bring into fruition. Or maybe it already exists. Maybe there's an organization that's already doing exactly what you want to do. So now you've got to go find that organization and see how you can plug into that. Get on the job training, learn and discover and play, and make sure that's the direction you want to go before you go launch yourself. If you're really scared, I would do it that way. Baby steps are always good. You can take baby steps all day long. Just be taking baby steps forward. Don't be taking baby steps that are holding you still. Continue to grow yourself. Paola, this has been absolutely amazing. I so appreciate you, your nuggets, your wisdom today. Thank you for taking the time with me and my audience. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us before we wrap up?
Thank you so much. Again, thank you for this opportunity to share my voice, to share my knowledge with you and your audience. It's always a pleasure. And something that I want to say is that self-love is not being selfish. Self-love is your responsibility. Self-care is your responsibility. So the minute you take the time, or you take whatever it is, whatever it takes to learn how to know yourself, how to be with yourself, how to learn how to hang out with yourself, date yourself, all of that, everything that has to do with self-love, your life will be transformed. Everything will change forever. So please do yourself a favor. And just like Terry was saying, find the community, find the space, and I have that space when it comes to self-love. So I would be more than happy to support you in that journey to find yourself, to know who that true self is, that powerful woman, or that amazing, or whatever it is that you have used to describe yourself. So take the time to listen, to tune in, to lean in, and answer that calling. It's your responsibility to love yourself, because that's the only way we can transform the world.
Someone I was talking to recently, and we'll leave you on this, be your own best friend.
Yes.
When your best friend is in trouble, what advice do you give him or her? What do you do for them? Do you answer their call? Do you show up for them? How do you show up for them? What are the things that you do to make them feel good when they're feeling sick or when they feel less than? You know what? That's exactly the kind of friend that you need in you. So be that person for yourself, because then you can be that person for everybody else. Thank you so, so much. I appreciate it. And until next time, have a terrific week, everybody. We'll